Hello and welcome to this video. We've got the SimplyRail Servo 8. This replaces the Simple Servo 6 just with some minor modifications, but also just trading under the name SimplyRail instead of the DRMOW website. Got the new logo there as well. So just like the Simple Servo 6, if you're familiar with that, this is to control 4 servos, and the first task we have is some of the main change from the previous version is the arrangement of the switches here. So the first change is to reverse the direction of servos. I'll show you that shortly. Switch 1 is for servo 1. Switch 2 is for servo 2, switch 3 is for servo 3, and switch 4 is for servo 4. So that obviously makes a bit more sense. So now switch 5 is to center the servos, which will help us when we're installing the servo in a turnout motor or something like that, or whatever your application is. So switch 5 will hold the servos in that mid position, which helps you know where to put the arm and all of that sort of thing. So now we can turn switch 5 off. Switch 6 you need on to adjust the position. Without switch 6 on, if we adjust the trim pot, with it on, the servo will move. With it off, I'll just get that in there again. I'm moving the trim pot, but our servo's not moving, and it won't read it until it's reset again or the power is turned off and on. So whenever we're setting, switch 6 goes on and we'll be underway. Now I've got it hooked up here with some switches in my little test jig and demonstration jig. So if the light is on, so that's just because of the position of the switch. So the light on means we've got a connection between ground and the input for that particular servo. So it's just a 5 volt on or off. So just a simple two-way switch is all you require. Or a DCC decoder, which will just switch from ground to 5 volts. And I am working on one of those. So we'll start with servo number 1. So I'm just adjusting so I can adjust the position there. Now the light's off, so it's the other trim pot. And so that servo's already finished. So I'll do the lower position of each of them. 2, 3, 4. Do the top position, so it's the other trim pot. So that's servo 2. 3, 4. So you really just count across. That's servo 1, servo 2, servo 3, servo 4. And as I said, we can reverse them. So if I go switch 1, you see that reverses servo 1, servo 2, servo 3, and servo 4. Now, if you do find that you need to reverse a servo because of your setup, which is fine, you just need to remember that you will need to reset the position of each of the servos for your application. So you can see I've done that now. And if I turn the switch so the light's on, then I can adjust the other position as well. And that's basically it. So now, if you wanted to have them on reverse, all you need to do then is turn switch 6 off, and they're all at that position. Now, the interesting thing here is if you turn the power off, so we've got the power off, turn it back on, and they just stay in their position. So if you've got a train over a turnout, it's not going to move. As long as your input selection with your switch or decoder hasn't changed since powering off and turning it back on, everything will be fine. Now if we turn the power off and we move all the switches, we'll see what happens. So a servo needs to know where it is. At power on, it looks to see where it is. If it has changed, you can see it drives really quickly, but they're staggered also, so there's minimal power draw. I'll just show you again. So this is some timing, so each one will drive individually, because it's when it's moving that really quickly that there's the biggest power draw. The only other time you'll have a big power draw is if there's something up against the position of the servo and it keeps trying to drive against it. So you just need to be a bit mindful of that. Just drive the servo to where you want and you'll be fine. So for this one now, I'll just turn all of those reversing ones off, and you see nothing moved until I repower or I turn the setup switch on. But that's basically it. All those servos are now set. I can see number 3 is a little low, so I'll just put switch 6 on and adjust that back up. I'll adjust that one down. And then switch 6 off again, and they're set. They don't need to have anything done to them now. If that's where you need them, they're right to go. If you turn the power off and on, as long as the inputs haven't changed, they'll stay where they are. Very reliable. There's nothing stored in the memory for the memory to be lost, so there's no programming. You've seen how simple it is. There's no computers, no programming. It's just the switches and the trim pots, and you're underway. But now that that's set, everything's fine, and it'll just keep working as you would expect. Very simple. So that's the Servo 8 from SimplyRail.